Natural stone has made a huge comeback. We see a lot more color, bold patterns. I'm not a fan of putting the TV above the fireplace. Generally, I would say that.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Modern Blaze Show. Today, we are talking about fireplace design, specifically about styling your room around the fireplace. And we have a chance to talk to an expert in this area, Yvonne Harty. She's an award-winning certified kitchen and bath designer, and she's on the mission to transform homes into cozy, welcoming spaces with her family-focused remodels in Sacramento, California. In this conversation, we covered a lot: the timeless tips when it comes to designing your fireplace, common mistakes to avoid, and current trends in fireplace design. So please join my conversation with Yvonne Harty. Hi, Yvonne. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Hi, Anastasia. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited for our conversation. I think fireplace design is such a great topic to cover because fireplace is a big investment and you want to get that one right. So I'm really looking forward to getting all of the tips and tricks from you. Why don't you tell our listeners about yourself, your background?
I always had an interest in interior design and architecture. I was born and raised in Germany, and when I bought my first house in Germany, the new build, I drew the floor plan and handed it to the architect. That's how I discovered my love for interior design. And then when I moved, that was just a perfect opportunity to start something new. And I joined an interior design program at the local college and got my degree in interior design. And then right away, I started my business, and I celebrated 5 years this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. What is your main specialty?
I mainly do remodel projects. So it's a lot of kitchens or larger remodels where it's a complete home or it's a kitchen and a family room or things like that. I mainly work with families, and I try to focus on welcoming, cozy family homes.
Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram bio, and I think this is wonderful. Making homes more cozy is what we are all about too here at Modern Blaze, because I feel like a fireplace does this instantly. It not only brings the warmth, but also just the look of the fire, the flames make it feel more welcoming, warm, cozy. Do you do a lot of fireplaces? Do you like them or not so much?
I love fireplaces. Just like you said, it really adds to the coziness of a home. No matter if you like the warmth or if it's just for ambiance, it's really nice to have a fireplace.
When it comes to design, if you start from scratch and think about incorporating a fireplace in your room, do you start with the fireplace in mind or does it come later on? What are the stages of thinking about the project?
With any design project, you have to really look at everything together. And sometimes, if the client tells us the fireplace is a priority, that might be the main starting point. You really have to look at everything together. And because a fireplace is typically a focal point in the room, it is a very important design feature, and you have to really design with all of the design elements in mind of the space. You can't just look at certain things, can't be an afterthought. And then also, different fireplaces require different settings, and there's all these things that you have to keep in mind. What are the electrical requirements? What are the venting requirements? Any clearances? What materials can I use? All of that's important too.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a lot that goes into planning of the fireplace. It's best to start from the beginning. If it's a renovation project, then you have to work around it. What are the elements that you can change up a little bit to make a fireplace fit in the room better than maybe it does currently?
It really depends on what the clients want and what the budget is, because a lot of times, if there's a big chimney around a fire and an existing fireplace, that a lot of times can be structural, and it might actually holding up the roof, so you can't just take it out and move it. I like to move things around and it really completely make it new, but it's not always possible, depending on the budget.
What about furniture placement? Are there some arrangements that work better with the fireplace versus others?
Generally, I would say that you want the fireplace to be the focal point and the center of the room. Place all the furniture around the fireplace. It always gets tricky when there's a TV that needs to be
Right.
placed somewhere because a TV and fireplace, they both are the focal point. TV just for the
Yeah.
size. They're just so big. You don't want that to be a focal point when it is. So you have to work around that. Yeah, but generally, I would say just place your furniture so that you face the fireplace.
So when it comes to a fireplace and TV placement, what other placements would you suggest? Side by side or just not have a TV? I feel like that's a tough sell.
Yeah, everybody loves their TVs, right? You want to make sure that they're incorporated somewhere. I like to keep the fireplace, and put the TV somewhere else. I'm not a fan of putting the TV above the fireplace, depending on how high the fireplace is mounted. If it's a gas fireplace, for example, you have to have more clearances. The TV is really too high in most cases for a comfortable seating position to watch TV. If I can, I like to put the TV somewhere next to it so that you can hide it. You can have some doors so you can close or something like that. Sometimes I put the TV perpendicular to the fireplace so that the fireplace still has its own moment and the TV is off to the side. That's actually one I'm working on a project right now. We recessed the cabinet so that it's not really sticking out too much into the room, so
Mhm.
that it's really hidden. And when you walk into the room, oh, it's a beautiful fireplace.
I'll also think about I see this look all the time. We sell a lot of electric fireplaces. Electric fireplaces, like you mentioned, have lower clearances, so you can have that a little bit lower to the fireplace. So it's not that you have to crank your neck up to see the TV. But yes, ideally, artwork or a mirror, right? Above the
Yeah,
fireplace.
those are my two go-tos. Or
Mm,
if you have some nice wall treatments like moldings, sometimes you don't really need anything. You can just add some decor, and maybe you install a couple of wall sconces that might already be enough. You might not necessarily need something behind it.
Do you have any design tips our audience can implement on their own? Maybe not everybody is working with a designer. Do you have any design tips, something timeless that is not going to go away?
Yeah, for sure. I like to have all the more permanent installations. So any tile or stone that select something that you really like. If it's a very bold pattern, then you really make sure you really love that pattern. Other than that, I like to just add some styling that you can change out if you get tired of it. But
Like,
like the tile or the
example.
stone, if you want timeless, pick something you really love, something more neutral, not too bold, unless you're just a bold person.
And then just have something that you can change up like seasonally or something easy to remove. So maybe something on the floor or just on like the mental shelf.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said earlier, different types of fireplaces, and electric fireplaces are a lot of times used in more contemporary settings, although you can use them in a more traditional setting as well. And in a more contemporary setting, it's more clean and less decor. A lot of times there's no mantle, just a stone or tile surround. In a more traditional setting, you would use a mantle above the insert, and then use maybe a pattern tile on the fireplace face.
What about lighting? Do you have any tips on the lighting around the fireplace?
Since the fireplace is a lighting source on its own, you don't really need to add a lot of lighting, so it's more decorative. You can have some soft down lights highlighting the fireplace, or like I said earlier, sconces. I love ball sconces. They just add a decorative element too. Or sometimes you can backlight it so you can create a little bit more like a different scene in the room.
And what are some of the most common mistakes that you see people make when it comes to fireplace design or just designing the room around the fireplace?
For me personally, it's the TV above the fireplace. That's a no go as much as you can avoid it. Or having too big of a TV above the fireplace.
Like
So
TV is bigger than the fireplace?
if the TV is wider than the fireplace and so the scale is off,
You
use a
prefer it to be the same width?
yeah, or smaller.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Any other mistakes that you've noticed?
I don't think anything really around the fireplace.
What
My
about corner fireplaces? You like those?
No, I'm not a fan of corner fireplaces because a fireplace needs to be a focal point. I would want that to be on a main wall so you can center everything around that. If it's in a corner, it might be off to the side. It might work out if you have a large media center, but then the fireplace takes a back seat, right? Then that media center in with the TV is going to be your focal point. So you just have to pick and choose.
Another one, we have a Facebook page and we shared this photo that became very controversial because some people were like, why is this fireplace behind the couch? What about putting a fireplace behind the couch? It looks nice in the picture, but then you question, why is it there?
I saw that picture and that's a no for me.
Okay, now we have an official expert opinion. It's a no go. It was a split. I feel like some people were saying it looks nice, and some were like, doesn't make sense at all. So, no TVs above fireplaces, no fireplaces bigger than TVs, no fireplaces behind couches, no corner fireplaces. What else? I feel like this is a pretty good list. If you avoid that, then maybe you can have a nicer looking, better designed space for your fireplace. What about, yes, like you mentioned, mantles? More contemporary fireplaces usually don't have a mantle. Mm, I do still see mantle shelves, even with electric fireplaces. What about the styling of that area? Some people put a lot of trinkets there. What would you do with that?
Well, for me, less is more for sure. So just use a nice art piece above the mantle, maybe a nice round mirror. I like round mirrors or some kind of interesting shaped mirror.
Okay.
And then on the side, I like to use greenery. That can be faux or real flowers or plants. I'd put those off to the side so that nothing blocks the mirror or the art piece. You want different heights. So if the greenery on one side is very tall, you don't want something the same height on the other side, a different height.
Mm. Is it to balance it out or make it more interesting?
Yes, some people might think that tree you want to create symmetry, but you really want to have different heights, different height vases or trinkets. That's always nice, or things like that, so you can play with different heights a little bit.
Okay. What about seasonal decorations? We have Thanksgiving coming up soon. Then there's going to be Christmas. People often change their decor with the seasons and the holidays. Is there a way to change the look of your fireplace without a complete redesign for the seasonal decor or the holidays?
One thing that we mentioned earlier is lighting. If you have some kind of a backlighting or a soft lighting where you can change colors, that might be a good way to create a different mood. And then also, of course, seasonal decor. That's very easy to use on a mantle. Personally, I'm not the expert in seasonal decorating. I don't really do a
You
lot of
don't do
seasonal
that.
decorating. I like more doing the big stuff. I like to move walls and all of that. But I think the easy way to create a different look is to change different decor.
Okay. Speaking of walls, are there any current trends that you see in fireplace design and in general, like in styling the fireplace?
Generally, I would say that natural stone has made a huge comeback, even in kitchen design and for countertops, but also for fireplace surrounds. We see a lot more color, bold patterns, and a fireplace is a great way to introduce a pattern, some color, and also texture. Texture has been huge for the last couple of years, and we see a lot of fluted designs in stones in the fireplace around.
A fluted design.
So it looks so it's like a wave.
So it's three-dimensional texture.
Yes.
What about tile? I feel like tile is going away, is it?
Yeah, I see more stone.
Okay.
Marble is very big. For some time, marble was not used very much, but I see a lot of marble being used now, especially on a fireplace.
I agree with you. I see a lot of marble.
Mhm.
It is beautiful. It's
I
really
love marble too.
awesome. Those are really cool trends. Thanks for sharing. If our listeners and viewers would like to follow you and see some of your work, where should they go?
Pretty active on Instagram. That's Hearty with a T Interiors. And my website is hartyinteriors.com.
Do you have any resources for homeowners who are looking for design, maybe inspiration, design tips, and stuff like that on your Instagram and the website?
I share a lot of tips on my Instagram and I have a blog. I might be using this information from today's interview to write a new blog.
That's awesome. Yes, please. We need more information. When I was doing research on this topic, there is not a whole lot. The information is not very useful. So hopefully, this conversation provides a little bit more useful information to our audience. And if they have more questions, they can reach out to you.
DM me on Instagram or fill out a form on my website and I'll get back to you.
And if you have any comments, I will just send them directly to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this conversation. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Anastasia.
Thanks, Yvonne. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Yvonne Harty. I will put all of the links to the resources in the description so you can easily find them. It will be right below this video. Please remember to subscribe and turn your notifications on. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. The biggest takeaway for me would be the challenge of fireplace and the TV. Feels like we have to have a separate conversation about it. Don't you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Maybe we should do a separate episode about just designing the fireplace and the TV in the living room. Let me know what you think. And if you have any questions for me or for Yvonne, feel free to leave a comment below or send a message to Yvonne directly on her Instagram. She'll be happy to answer. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
The Fireplace Show.